the Tosfot Yom Tov says that even during times like this, the nation must feel a special responsibility to help the poor. Why? Because they suffer more than anyone else during crisis. And if they're ignored, pestilence will intensify. Meaning that by helping the poor during the difficulty is exactly what Hashem wants you to do. Nothing is achieved in this world unless there is sacrifice. Unless there's mesirut nefesh. Giving tzedakah after you made $1 million this year is not chokhmah. It's not a very big deal, b'chlal. It's not a big deal that you gave tzedakah after you have a bunch of money. It's not a big deal. Hashem gave you a bunch of money. A donkey will give tzedakah already with a bunch of money. What's chokhmah? When you don't have a bunch of money. When it's difficult. When you have to decide, I used to go out to eat steak once a week. Now it's either I'm going to go out to eat steak for $100 once a week, or I'm going to use that $100 to get Am Yisrael to do tshuva. Yeah, but what am I going to eat? You can eat a burger for $10. So now you save $90, not because you don't want steak all of a sudden. You still like the steak. You like it even more now that you can't have it. Ma'im gnuvim im taku. But say, I have to make a sacrifice. Why? Because Hashem wants more Jews, not more meat-eating steak. It's not chokhmah. It's not a big genius thing or a big tzaddikud. You're not a big tzaddik if you had a big year in the stock market and now you're going to give tzedakah. Hashem doesn't want your tzedakah. Tzedakah is when it's difficult, when you have to make a sacrifice. Avraham Avinu did not become Avraham Avinu until he sacrificed his life. Why is the Brit Milah called Brit Avraham? Why? Why do we call Brit Avraham? Now, how come we don't say it's Brit Moshe Rabbeinu? Technically, we got Torah from Moshe Rabbeinu. We didn't get Torah from Avraham Avinu. So how come the Brit Milah that Hashem calls, this is my covenant, Beni u Benechem. This is the covenant between us. How come he says Brit Avraham? The Brit Milah is after Avraham Avinu. Now, if you say he's the first one, I say, okay, he's the first one. Ishmael technically was also there. Why didn't they call it Brit Ishmael? Why didn't you call it one of the other servants? Why is it Brit Avraham? Because only Avraham was willing to sacrifice his life for Brit Milah. Once he was willing to sacrifice his life and jumped into the fire of Nimrod, sacrifice his life for Hashem, Avraham became Avraham. Why is Torat Moshe called Torat Moshe? How come it's not called Torat Yaron? He was there. How come it's not called Torah Yeshua ben Nun? He was also a leader. How come it's not called Torah David? Torah David, David HaMelech, Mashiach. How come? How come it's called Torat Moshe? Because Rabotai Yekarim, only Moshe Rabbeinu was willing to sacrifice his life for the Torah. The Chachamim ask a question. How come Hashem put us in Egypt for 210 years? Why couldn't he just send Moshe Rabbeinu after a year? Why do we have to go to Egypt for 210 years? Why, he couldn't bring Moshe Rabbeinu for 200 years? Hashem can do anything. You're here now, you're not here tomorrow, you're not here today, you're here you can do anything he wants. He is everything. The Ramban at the end of Parashat Bo puts a commentary and he says, the foundation of our entire Torah is for you to know that everything is a miracle. Everything. There is no such thing as nature. If you think anything is in your hands, you kofir b'Torah. So meaning that Hashem could have brought Moshe Rabbeinu after a year, after a week. Why do we have to suffer for 210 years? Why couldn't he just make Yosef a tzaddik? He was already tzaddik. Hashem testified. Make him Mashiach. Why couldn't he make Reuven? Would be good for me. Reuven be the Mashiach. Why couldn't Reuven be the Mashiach? He was the first Baal Tshuva. Reuven was the first Baal Tshuva. How come he couldn't make Yehuda? Mashiach comes from Yehuda. How come Yehuda didn't bring a Torah? How come it says Torat Moshe? Why? Why didn't he make? Why? What's happened? Because, Rabotai, for 210 years, no one cared enough about saving Am Yisrael to the point where he was willing to put his life on the line. Everyone cared. Oh, yeah, you come over for Shabbat. I'll give you a ride. Here's $50 to help you out. Yeah, everybody cares for each other, you know, chaverim. But am I willing to die for you? Not a chance in the world. Not a chance in the world. I got a family, I got kids, I got everything. Leave me alone. You die. Why should I die? It's not a natural thing to be willing to die for somebody else. Hashem says, until somebody's willing to die for my children, I'm not going to save them. Moshe Rabbeinu was the first one in 210 years willing to die for Am Yisrael. That's why it's called Torat Moshe. That's why it's called Torat Moshe, not Torat Yaron. That's why it's not called Torah anybody else. It's Torat Moshe. Why? Moshe Rabbeinu willing to die for Am Yisrael.